Now we're just past quarter to, so we'll just get started, okay, guys? There'll still be people joining us over the next minute or so. First of all, thank you very much for coming to meet us tonight online. These online sessions have been going extremely well. Brilliant attendance from everybody, and it's great to get engagement from parents. So we know that the information is going out and that you have the opportunity to ask us questions and kind of face-to-face. But if you have any questions, just throw them up there on the chat. And at the very end, we'll do a Q&A. So this one, we just did the junior student one. And it was mainly about the reopening. This one is about the reopening, but also about the Leaving Cert and the Leaving Cert Applied as well. So there's a lot of information to go through. So, you know, if you have a lot of questions, or don't worry if you get muddled with it all, or if you've forgotten a bit of it, we will send out this presentation to everybody and you will be able to look at it afterwards as well. All right. So again, if you have a question, stick it into the chat box or do your raise hand on your screen and we'll get around to you then at the end. Okay. Now, okay, so let's get started then. So I hope you're all keeping well anyway, and hope all your families are doing well. Our sixth years are back, which is absolutely brilliant. They came bouncing in the gate on Monday morning, and it gave a lift to the whole place to see them back. They were absolutely delighted. Now the mood has changed a little bit over the last day or two because they're going, oh God, there's a lot of work to be done, and how's it all going to look, and what are the choices I'm going to make, and what choices do I have, and what options can I make? And so it's all a bit confusing for them. So so we're here to, I suppose, get as much information out to the parents as well, so that you can have a conversation with your child then about what options to take then over the next coming weeks, okay, and what's available to them from the state exams and from the school. Right, so what are we going to be talking about this evening then? So we'll be looking at how the reopening schedule is working for schools. What are the different phases and when will the different year groups be coming back? So our sixth years, again, that was phase 2. Phase 3 is the fifth years. They'll be back with us on the 15th of March. And then after the Easter holidays, on April 12th, we'll have the full return, including our third years as well, first, second, third and fourth, after the Easter holidays. I'll go through some of the COVID response plan updates that we've made. That's also available on our website. So make sure to have a look at that. There has been some amendments to some of the procedures that we had started last September that worked very well from September to December and kept our school extremely safe. So some of that has been amended, not a whole lot, but some of it. I'm also going to show you some information from the Department of Education. They've set up a specific area for parents on their website, gov.ie/backtoschool, where they'll give you loads of information on how to keep yourself safe and your child safe on the return to school. Then we'll go into the Leaving Cert and Leaving Cert Applied information, okay? There's quite a bit of that. And then we'll do our Q&A at the end, all right? So our back to school phased and cautious return, so that's what the department are calling it. They've slowed down the reopening of it. It's not one big bang back into school for everybody. So our sixth years are in, they'll be here for 2 weeks, and then our fifth years will join them in 2 weeks time, and then the rest of the school will join. So it's a nice slow phased reopening. It's very staggered, and that is so that the department can keep an eye on numbers. Is the reopening of schools going to affect COVID numbers in the country? And if it does, they may alter some of those dates on the return, okay? The sequencing and time frame of this, so phase 1 for the department was the reopening of special classes, which happened on the 22nd of February. So we don't have any special classes in our school, but many schools do, and they opened on the 22nd of February. Phase 2 from the department were the Leaving Cert classes as their top priority in secondary schools after our special classes. And they came back to us on Monday, 1st of March. We were absolutely delighted to see them. So then planning will continue about the return of the next priority group, which are the fifth year students. So they're our next priority group. They will be returning to us on the 15th of March, okay? And again, after the Easter holidays on the 12th of April, that first Monday after the Easter holidays, the rest of the school will return. Now the department have been very clear that the return happens based on how the COVID numbers in the country is working. Is it going up? Is it remaining stagnant? Is it going down? Okay, and again with the with the vaccination system being rolled out as well, so we're hoping that as the school reopens, there won't be COVID cases peaking or anything like that. But again, the department are making us all very aware that if there's a spike in numbers or anything like that, if it's not safe for a full return, they may extend those dates or change those dates. But at the moment, That's the information we have. The 15th for 5th years and the 12th of April for all the other years. So we're getting public health advice as well. All schools are on this phased reopening, okay? They have stated from September to December, the numbers in school were always very low. Schools are controlled. We have our 1 metre distancing, we have our sanitizing, we have our face coverings, and you know, we're all on the lookout for making sure that everybody's following the protocols. So it's a much more controlled environment than, say, out in a park or out in the street or anything like that. So we're hoping that the numbers will stay like that, specifically as well with the new variant. They haven't given any new guidance in for any of the new variants of COVID either. They're telling us that the measures that we have already put in place are highly effective against COVID-19 and any new variant that has landed in the country. The biggest point the department and us want to get across as well is that if anybody has symptoms of COVID-19, or if you've been told you're a close contact, you must stay at home. So whether you think, oh, I just have a cough or a sore throat, and I know myself that I'm okay and it's just a cough, we're asking you to stay at home and just go to your GP, okay? The agreeing framework for physical distancing as well, we've audited all of that. Excuse me, I'm coughing as I'm talking about coughing. The layout of our classrooms, all of that has been audited and checked out as well. So everything is still within the guidelines that the department have given us. The 1 metre distancing from shoulder to shoulder, the layout of the classroom, our physical distancing, our one-way system in the school, all of that is still meeting the guidelines for the Department of Education in how to make sure that we are keeping the school as safe as possible. So all of that is still in place. There's been a few amendments to it and I'll go through a few of those as well. In the meantime then, so our 6th years are back on their normal timetable, full-time in school. So the rest of our year groups are still going to be doing remote learning and teaching, okay? Now, during this phase reopening, there's a difference in the staffing arrangements in schools. So the department have temporarily altered our staffing arrangements. So we will have a small number of teachers who will continue to work from home, okay? So your child might be in school, in their class, and their teacher will be accessing the class from home. Now, we're figuring that out at the moment. It is working okay, but we have, you know, more stuff to figure out there, like making sure that students have devices to access the class. There will be a supervising teacher in the class with them, and they will help and support them to log on and all that. But we're asking that students will have Teams downloaded onto their phone with a set of headphones so that they can communicate with the teacher, and we'll put the teacher up on the screen then, okay? So we have a small number of teachers that have certain situations where they have to continue to work from home, okay? And that's only temporarily while the phased reopening is happening. So it's just for these couple of weeks. Then our plan, the amendments. So the picture there in the left is our COVID-19 response plan. So that is available on our website, and it'll be very clear where the amendments are made there. Okay, they're all kind of highlighted in red. So mainly our face coverings are staying the same, except we're asking for students to have their face covering on from the school gate onwards, because congregating is something that the department are very concerned about when it comes to post-primary students. And they want us to have the face masks on from the school gate throughout the school day, then in school and during PE time if they're doing PE outside, which I know is quite uncomfortable, but we're trying to keep things as safe as possible for the remainder of the year so that we don't have to close down again. Sanitizing, again, we're reminding all our students, sanitize in, sanitize out. They will have seen those signs in school and they'll know that term, sanitize in, sanitize out. Whenever they go in and out of a classroom, whenever they touch anything, that they're washing and cleaning their hands on a very regular basis. Our cleaning system in the school is absolutely brilliant, I have to say. We have a fantastic cleaning staff that are sanitizing the place. We're still using our sanity systems, which will kind of defog the whole room and whole school at the end of the day and during lunchtime as well. So that is still happening. Access to school as well. So the department have asked us to not have any visitors to the school. That is parents, visitors, anybody that is not a student or staff member to have access to the school. So if you need to contact a teacher, if you have to have a meeting with a teacher, it will be over the phone or it'll be online on Zoom. Now, some of the year heads, if there's an exceptional circumstance, are happy to meet parents at the benches outside, but you won't be given any access to the school. Congregating is something that they're very concerned about. There has been a lot of talk lately and a lot of stuff in the media over the last few weeks about house parties and street parties and people staying over to other people's houses and all that. So I know on the return to school, you know, some of us might be like, well, they're meeting anyway, but they're meeting in a controlled environment. They're meeting in a school where they're 1 metre apart, that there's only a certain number of them allowed into the toilet at one time. There's a one-way system. It's a very controlled environment. They're sanitizing all the time, which is very different to maybe what's going on in the park or what's going on in the street or anything like that. So we're really asking everybody to make sure everyone's doing their bit for the school and not to be congregating and not to be meeting up with groups of people or anything like that. Even if it is outside, it still spreads that way. So you have to just be very careful, and we're asking everybody to not do that. We won't be letting any students congregate outside our school building either. So once the school day finishes, we'll be saying out you go, out the door, out the gate, and head straight home. Okay, so we're really trying to avoid that. The canteen use at lunchtime then. So again, if you've been granted kind of an exceptional permission to stay in at lunchtime, if you live very far from the school and there's no possibility of you being able to get home and back in time, you could use the canteen at lunchtime. So that still stands from the way it was before December. Then dealing with a suspected case. So we've given instructions to teachers on how to specifically manage a child that may say, God, miss, I'm actually not feeling well, I have a sore throat, or I have a cough, or I'm sweating, I'm not well, what do I do? So they know how to deal with that when this child is with them inside in class. They'll contact a member of the senior management team, and we will go and collect the child from the classroom and bring them to the isolation area. Then we'll make a phone call to the parent or the guardian, okay? And what we're asking is that if you're coming to collect the child from school, please do not leave your car. Just like you would at the GPs, you have to sit in your car, ring the reception and tell them you're outside, and they'll tell you when to come in. We'll be operating the exact same thing. Because just in case if your child does have COVID, you more than likely have it as well, all right? And you mightn't be aware of that. And I know you're very worried and want to go in and see your child and have a chat with them in the lobby area and all that, but we're really asking, do not enter the school, just stay in your car. If you ring the school number, we'll be keeping an eye out as well. We'll know that there's a child inside there waiting for a parent. We'll keep an eye out for you, and we'll escort your child out to you to the car, okay? So please don't enter the school just in case, because that front door of our school, there's like 1,000 kids going in and out, and staff members going in and out of that throughout the day. So making sure that that is sanitized in a safe area for everybody is really, really important. Information for parents, and the department have put together short videos for parents on how to keep COVID out of school, all right? These are the specific points that the department wants us to get across to everybody. Making sure that we're all erring on the side of caution, that we're being extra cautious on the return to school. So the kind of idea of that, well, sure, they're mixing with their friends in school anyway, they're not mixing the same way they normally would. Again, we did it so well from September to December. We had very few cases and there was no transmission within the school whatsoever, which was absolutely brilliant. And that was down to you guys, and it was down to the kids and down to the teachers, making sure that everything was sanitized all the time. Face coverings were on all the time. There's a declaration form as well. So 6th-year parents would have been sent that before the return to school. So that's a very important document. You have to declare that, to the best of your knowledge, that your child does not have COVID on the return to school. So we're going to send that out to 5th-year parents as well before the return, and we'll send it out to the other year groups then before they return as well. They're strongly advising to just be careful with congregating, that your children aren't attending any parties or staying over at somebody's house. And we've had a few issues with that, somebody staying at somebody's house and the whole lot of them getting it, because it might take a day or two for somebody to realize they're not feeling well, or they might be asymptomatic, but the person they've spread it to might not be asymptomatic. So just be careful and try and keep things together as much as possible, because once the schools reopen, we want it to stay open for as long as possible. If you need to engage with any staff, any teachers, SNA, year heads, just call the school or email the year head. We gave all those details in our last parent information, even send them an email, and it will be done through telephone or online. If there's an exceptional circumstance, a year head will be happy to meet you at the benches outside the school, okay? That's for our junior cert students. Right, okay, we're going to move on to our leaving cert students now as well, okay? So there's quite a bit of information in this. So again, we will be sending out this PowerPoint to everybody. So if you've missed anything, don't be worried, you'll be able to go back over it. So leaving cert, and then again, also to our 5th-year parents, if you need to leave, work away, this will be about our 6th years, our leaving cert students and our leaving cert applied students as well, okay? So for our Leaving Cert students for this year, there will be 2 pathways to their Leaving Cert result. 1 grade at the end of it, 2 ways of getting it, and 1 destination, 1 result. So you will have a Leaving Cert examination, an option to do a Leaving Cert written examination, and the option for an accredited grade. So 2 different pathways, but 1 grade at the very end of it. Okay? They're completely separate processes. One does not link with the other at all. They're completely 2 different roads. It is not possible then to mix the elements. And what I mean by that is your child can't choose to not sit the exam and then do the official oral for the state exams to be assessed. So you can't pick and choose different parts of one subject to do. Well, I might do the written exam in construction, but I'm not going to do the project. I want an accredited grade for the project, but I want to do a written exam for construction studies. If you're choosing to do the written exam, you do the project, the whole lot of it as normal. Okay, so they're 2 separate things, and the student gets the better one. So whatever they have scored higher on when they've finished the exams and that has been marked, and when the teachers have given them their accredited grades and it has been standardized then by the state exams, they will get the better result. Whatever one they've gotten, they'll be given that result. And that 1 grade then will appear on their results in August. So the key priorities to it, why they've said no mocks, we're not doing mocks, formal mocks for Leaving Cert students, because the department have advised us to make sure that we are protecting tuition time as much as possible, that students are not missing any more in-class teaching and learning time with their teachers. So there will be no formal mock schedule like we would have done each year for our Leaving Cert students. They want to ensure that the school communities adhere to public health requirements. So that's why they've changed practices for the orals, for the projects, the practical exams and all that, and I'll go through that in better detail with you now soon, okay? And their other priority is to put supports in place for schools to be able to conduct all aspects of the examinations. So they're trying to put whatever protocols as safe as possible in place for schools so that projects can continue and that orals can continue, okay? So I'm going to then discuss each one separately and just give you the very specific data or the very specific details on it. So we'll start with the accredited grades. What does that look like? So all students will have the option of an accredited grade. So next Monday and a few weeks after that, they will be asked, you need to log into a student portal like last year's Leaving Certs and choose whether you want an accredited grade or not. Now we are suggesting that every single student opts for an accredited grade because it's the only fallback. If they want to do a written exam and they go for it, but they get sick or something at the time in June and they haven't chosen to have an accredited grade, they won't have anything then. So we're advising everybody, do the accredited grade, get your accredited grade. And if you want to do your exam, then choose whether you want to do it or not. Subject-specific guidance will be given to teachers. So over the next few weeks, subject-specific stuff like in relation to construction studies, music, and so on and so forth, the languages, they will be given specific guidance over assessment for the accredited grades for the next couple of weeks. And again, the accredited grades are a makeup of the last 2 years of work. So don't get stressed to think, God, it's between now and the end of the year, I have to prove myself. That will be part of it, but it's also over the last 2 years of coursework as well. So just don't forget that. You have the last 2 years, your teachers will be taking in all the evidence that we can gather for that. Languages will take account of orals and written competencies. So whatever stuff they've done written-wise over the last 2 years, that will be taken into consideration. And the orals any orals that they've done will be taken into consideration. Practicals will take account of our practical subjects like construction studies, engineering, technology, and all that. They will take into consideration practical skills that they've seen from their students and written competencies, whether it's been assignments or whatever, so forth, for the last 2 years. The alignment of grades will happen in school. So the alignment will be that teachers meet within their subject departments and align their students with their grades. And then that is sent to the State Examinations Commission for standardization. So the teacher doesn't give the final grade, they're giving their estimated mark of what they think their student will perform best in, okay? What grades that they would perform best in at that time if they were to sit the exam, and how they'll do that by gathering all that evidence over the last 2 years. But then it goes to the State Exams Commission and it is standardized at that stage. So the last day then for collecting all the data on that is May 14th. So after May 14th, there won't be any more assessments for 6th years, in-class assessments or anything like that. That'll be all finished by May 14th. That'll be that's the deadline for collecting all the information and all the evidence that will help the teacher come up with their accredited grade. The 14th of May to the 28th of May, teachers will meet, they'll gather together and they will assemble their accredited grades during that week. So schools will close for all students on the 28th of May. After the 28th of May, the following week, which would have been normally our last week of school, the accredited grades then are sent to the state exams during that week. So it's a lot of data to gather from every single class. The school, we do all of that. Our exam secretary goes through a lot of that as well. I have an oversight thing where I go through every single one of them and check the grades and make sure everything is done properly. And then it gets sent to the State Exams Commission. The department have been very strong in this as well, that any canvassing of the principal, the deputy principal, teachers, SNAs will be prohibited and guidance will be sent on any reporting procedures for that. Then the appeals situation for an accredited grade is the same as last year. Their final grade, if they've chosen, if their final grade is the accredited grade, they can appeal the process that the school undertook. If there was they'll come back and have a look if the school undertook, an incorrect process or something like that. They'll do that, but you can't appeal the actual grade itself. Then our written exam. So what will that look like for the 6th years? All students will have the option to choose to do a written exam. They start on June 9th as normal, and it runs like the normal timetable would every single year. And that is available online, the timetable for the Leaving Cert. The orals for the modern foreign languages and for Irish will take place over the Easter holidays. And students who choose to sit the written exam must do an oral. So they will have to choose that over the next week or so. Students will. They'll have to choose if they want to do the written exam. If they choose that, they have to do an oral, a formal oral during the Easter holidays within the school. Those orals will be done by teachers within the locality. They will facilitate the oral, they will conduct the oral with the student in our school, and they'll record it and send it to the state exams for assessment. So the teacher conducting the oral doesn't grade the student or assess them. The state exams assesses them for that formal oral. The music practical exam as well. So again, we haven't got any advice yet on that. We're still waiting for the public health officials to organise that, because it's a very different environment when people are singing or performing or they're using wind instruments. It's a completely different environment. So they're still trying to figure that out. We're hoping that something will go ahead, but as long as it's done safely. So once we know that, we'll be able to tell our music students about that. For construction studies and engineering, there is no day practical. So every single year, our students who do construction and engineering would sit a practical exam. The woodwork or construction one is 4 hours, the engineering one is 6 hours, and it's a test on skills. And that would form part of their final grade for the year. That's not going ahead because that's not safe to do with the sharing of materials and the length of the exam and so on and so forth. And they're quite pressurized exams, the kids would be sweating in them, so it's not a safe environment for them to do it. So they're moving, again, this is if the student chooses the written exam, they're moving the marks from the practical exam onto the project. And students will continue to work on their project until the final submission date. They haven't released the final submission dates of those projects yet, but they are going to take into consideration the time that has been lost, because those projects have to be done within the school. They can't be done at home or anything like that. So they will take that into consideration. So the practical exam that would have happened, the marks for that have now been transferred onto the project, which is brilliant, to be honest, and kids are extremely happy with that. There will be no second sitting of the exam. So if there's a bereavement or if you're sick, you can't re-sit the exam at another time. That would have happened in previous years, but it's not happening this year. The exam will only happen during that examination period starting the 9th of June. If anything happens, if you're sick, bereavement, whatever it is, you break your arm, there's no resitting of it, okay? So therefore, that's why we are saying, make sure you choose your accredited grade, because if that happens, if you want to sit your exams and you've chosen to have your accredited grades as well, if something happens to you during the exam period, you'll have your accredited grade then at least, okay? It's your only fallback. So we're really strongly encouraging everybody to do that. Normal appeals procedure for the written exams applies as normal, the same procedure that applies every single year. You can appeal it, and the student gets to view the script. That all happens around August, September time. So all those normal procedures will happen again, okay? The LCA written exams are also starting on the 9th of June, but their practical exam and the coursework that they have to do has not been finalised yet, so we don't have enough information from the department yet on that. So there has been, for the written exam, there has been an assessment arrangements. So they have altered the written exams to take into account some of the tuition that could have been lost over the last year, okay? So they have taken that into consideration. So make sure 6th years you're looking at your assessment arrangements and having a look at how the exam has changed before you make, so you can make the most informed choice when you're going onto that student portal and clicking, am I doing both? Am I doing the written exam? Am I doing the accredited grades, okay? So have a look at the assessment arrangements. It has been changed and altered to make sure that students have more choice and more flexibility within the exam. Your Leaving Cert examination timetable is also available. It is up there online on the state exams website, so please have a look at that. Again, to make it very clear, the department have said the exams will run as long as it is safe to do so, okay? So if there's a situation where there's a massive spike and we can't meet in groups or the school has to be closed, the exams won't run, obviously. So choose your accredited grade. The Leaving Cert applied then. So the examination starts the same day, Wednesday the 9th, okay? There has been advice for management and teachers of LCA students released. That was released last July. That will be amended again. They have made assessment arrangements within the written exam for LCA students as well. So make sure you have a look at that so you can make an informed choice as well, so you know how the exam has changed or how it will look. There's more options and more flexibility. The student portal. So this was the same as last year. There was a student portal that everybody had to log into to opt in for their accredited grade and the written exam. So this is happening on the 8th of March. That'll be next Monday that portal is going to open. Okay, so, and that's down to the student. The student has to do that themselves. So make sure you have your login details for that portal and that you know, you have kind of an idea of what you want to do, whether to choose to opt in to take the written examinations or the accredited grade or both, all right? Have the information ready on the subjects you're doing and the levels that you're doing as well. So you may need to have a chat with your teachers over the next couple of days to trash out any ideas or any concerns you have over levels, all right? Now, next Monday afternoon, we will be running a very, very special afternoon for 6th years, which will go into detail. We'll be giving a lot of support to you on this, so don't get too stressed about it yet. We will show you how to access the portal. We will show you how to do all of this next Monday, okay? I'll go into more detail of what that afternoon is going to look like in a minute. Okay, so to break this down very quickly for you, how does it actually look, the accredited grades as well? There'll be an in-school alignment process, all right? Then there'll be approval at school level. So I oversee the whole lot of it. So once it's all done, all the accredited grades come to me and I go through an oversight of everything and I approve everything, or I ask a teacher to go over some marks or to look at something. If it's usually just an error or whatever, I ask them to relook over it and to redo it again. Then once that's done and I've approved that, it goes then to the state exams for national standardization. So the mark the teacher is giving is not the final grade. It might end up being, if it is standardized, but that the state exams give the final grade then. Okay, again, the accredited grades, I've said it a few times, it provides a contingency for any circumstance. So just keep in mind when you're making your options on Monday, there will be no alternative sitting of the exams. So if you choose to do exams only, you have one chance to do it during June, and after that then if something happened, broken arm or there was a bereavement or anything, you won't get another option to do it. All right. So how do we arrive at the accredited grade? How does that actually work? It's a 4-step process. All right. Teacher gives the estimated mark of the student, a percentage mark. The alignment process then goes within the subject department. So then teachers meet with their subject department. That's on the 14th of May. They gather all of their information, all of their evidence to come to that mark. And then I overlook it. And then we send it all to the state exams for the final grade. How do teachers come up then with their estimated mark? How will that actually look? So again, it's over the last 2 years. So don't be concerned that, oh my God, during lockdown, I couldn't get online, my laptop wasn't working, it was stressful at home, I haven't been able to keep up the normal way I could have. So don't worry, it's not just based on that, it's based on the last 2 years of work. And I know some of you have had new teachers in the last year as well, so don't forget they will be communicating with your original teacher on how you've been doing over the last 2 years. All of that will be worked out together. So don't be too concerned. If you have a new teacher this year and you're going, God, they only know me a year and they've only seen me a few months from September to December, and then lockdown happened and I couldn't keep up and you know, everything else. Don't get too hung up on that or concerned about that. You have your original teacher from the class who will be in communication with that teacher, and they'll show them the evidence that you've had and they'll show them the good work that you've done. So don't be too concerned over that. And I just really want to stress that, because I can imagine myself, that would really stress me out, going, God, they don't know me from Adam barely. They've only known me a year and I've done 6 years in this school. So remember, the original teacher in the class will be helping with that as well. So don't be too concerned. So a number of different ways they'll do it. Formative and summative assessments, the written assessment type thing, and also the observations or the group work or project work that they've been doing in class. A mixture of all of that and a good balance between the two of them, okay, over the last 2 years and during the remote learning period as well. But again, we are aware of the kids that struggled during that time as well. So don't stress yourselves over that. We'll be looking at the available evidence, project work, class tests, group work, submissions, assignments, that kind of thing. Anything that's existing as well. Assignments, practical projects, just like I said there, key assignments, coursework, any practical coursework, especially in relation to LCA classes. Class assessments, so your kind of typical class test or a house exam, like a summer exam or a Christmas exam. During the, we've said, be cautious. This is what we've said to teachers, you know, during the period of remote learning, we have to take that into consideration, but to be cautious of the student's ability to access remote learning during that time, which could have been disturbed for personal reasons. We are aware of that. And we've encouraged everybody to keep that in mind when you're coming to your accredited grade. There is so much evidence from your child's education over the last 2 years that we can take from. So don't get too stressed over that, okay? Any additional assessments required? So this is a big question on everyone's lips. Do we start assessing every single week between now and the end of the term? We don't, but we do have some assessments to do, okay? Over-assessment should be avoided, and a balance of summative and formative, a balance of the written assessments and a balance of oral practical project work, observations, that type of assessment should be maintained. So in class teacher designs tests, so this is what the department have recommended for us, that are no more than 1 lesson in duration and at a max an hour in length. It could be written, oral, or practical, or a mixture of all of that. A maximum of 3 class tests per subject up until May 14th. So that's what they'll get, as a maximum of 3 class tests within the school during school time per subject up until that time. And testing is to avoid as much as possible the teaching and learning during this period. So again, super cautious of not affecting tuition time. That is why we are not running formal mock examinations, because they take up 2 weeks. That's another 2 weeks of in-class teaching and learning being affected. The inclusion of students with SEN and race must be taken into consideration. So when we are looking at these examinations or these assessments, these in-classroom assessments over the next 2 terms, we will be obviously making a consideration for the students who would have had race within the exam if they were to sit the exam. Self and peer assessment will not be used. There won't be any mark your neighbour's work type thing. That will not be used for it. Short written tests that are, answer the next 10 questions over 15 minutes, that won't be used. They're not significant enough to give a good assessment. And mocks are not to be used. So we've been asked by the department, or encouraged by the department, to not have mocks, as they're not a very reliable source. It's more about a practice for an exam as opposed to getting a really good insight as to the students' learning. The alignment process. So the alignment for the accredited grades, what it looked like, there's 2 different phases. The 14th of May to the 28th, that's when the teachers prepare for their subject alignments. So they come up with their list of grades for all their students, and then they meet within their subject and they align that with everybody else within their subject department. And they review the records of work that they have and the evidence of work that they have. Then phase 2 of that is from the 31st of May to the 3rd of June, where the oversight report from the principal happens, and where we finalise the process and send it off to the state exams for them to do their standardisation. The oral examinations, lots of questions on this. So the oral examinations will be happening from the 26th of March to the 15th of April. It'll happen outside of tuition time to make sure we don't take from any teaching and learning in the classroom. It'll be undertaken by a teacher within the school where possible. And if we can't have anybody in the school or can't find anybody in the school to do it, we'll have to look outside the school. And it'll be teachers who are obviously qualified in Irish and modern foreign languages who will facilitate the oral assessment. They won't be marking it or grading it, but they will facilitate it. They will ask the questions, they will do the oral, and then they will record it and then send it to the state exams for them to assess it. Coursework then. So if you're choosing, as I said earlier, if you're choosing to do the exams, the written exam, you need to complete your coursework as well. They will send new submission dates to the schools shortly as well. They haven't given us dates yet, but they will be sending new submission dates for those projects. But that will be completed for assessment by the state exams if you're going with your written examination exam. Practical examination, so I kind of mentioned that already. So the skills test and the practical tests are not happening, and the marks will be reallocated to the project element of that, and we're still waiting for music to see what the guidelines on that will be. So dates, and again, these are subject to change in case things don't pan out the way we all want them to, and we have to extend maybe the school reopening or whatever. But these are the main dates. The 14th of May is our accredited grade alignment. The 28th of May that's when all students will finish school on the 28th of May. It was the 4th of June, but they've pulled it back to the 28th of May so that the school has a week to do their alignment process for the accredited grades during that week. And we'll be submitting all the accredited grades on the 4th of June then. Then the 9th of June, that is when the written Leaving Cert exams for the Leaving Cert Established and the Leaving Cert Applied start. So the SSC will issue revised dates for submission of the coursework and the scheduling and arrangements for the LCA tasks and interviews in the coming days and weeks. So we will hear from them in a couple of days or weeks about the LCA tasks and about the rescheduling of submission dates. Grade reflected in their results. When they get that results sheet in August, there'll be 1 grade on it. They will not be getting, this is your written one, this is your accredited grade, and this is the best. They'll be getting 1 grade on that page, okay? And that's really important to note. They'll have 2 ways of doing it, 2 pathways, but 1 grade. So next Monday afternoon, we're running a timetable based on wellbeing for 6th year students. It's a mixture of the portal information that they need and guidance that they need from the career guidance teachers as well. They will, every single 6th year will go through a session on that, on how to access the portal, how to submit their details on the portal, and guidance on how to choose the best option for them. They'll also have a study skills session as well. So we'll be going through a study skills session with them on how to prepare for study skills for the exams or study skills for their in-class assessments that will be coming up as well. We'll also be looking at mindfulness, some yoga, some physical activity, some dance classes, some exercise outside and all that as well, okay? So that's a timetable for next Monday afternoon for 6th year students. So we just want to give them a bit of time to offer them some support on career guidance, on getting back into study, because they've been doing it by themselves a lot over the study periods maybe that they're doing in the evening, trying to maybe kind of streamline that for them and help them out with that. And then physical and mental health well-being as well, because it's been a tough time for them. There's been a lot of information kind of thrown around the place, and they're checking Twitter to try and see what's the next update on it. So, but the plan is there now. It is there now, and we're ready to go with it. And we just want to give them an afternoon where they get all the information that they need, they get the support they need, and they get to do something for their physical and mental health as well, which is really important. Don't forget as well our online maths club. For anyone concerned about catching up on maths, we have an online maths club which is running really, really well. So the senior student contact for that is Miss Hutchings. So if you just email Miss Hutchings, she will then tell you how to access the online maths club and the benefits that it'll have for you. So if you're concerned with maths or anything like that, join the club, and definitely there's huge help and support there. Absolutely amazing teachers carrying that out. So make sure you get on to that. Okay. Right, we're at our questions and answer stage. So that was a lot of information for you, and so I hope it provided you with a bit more clarity, and I hope that it helps with the conversations that you're going to have with your sixth-year student over the next sixth-year child over the next couple of days. It's a busy time for them, and as I said, they were skipping in the gate Monday morning, but definitely the last day or two they've been a bit, oh God, what am I doing, or where am I going, or how do I do this? So there's a little bit of anxiety there, and we just want to try and care for them as best as possible. But so I hope the information there that we've given you will help you with those conversations with them and how to make the best informed choice. And that they're kind of aware of what it's going to look like if they choose the written exam, if they choose both, or if they choose one. I just want them to know all of their choices and the options available to them so they make the best one for themselves. Right, we'll start with our questions and answers then. So if you'd like to put a question up into the chat box, or if you'd like to raise your hand on your screen, and we'll get around to everybody then. Okay, and I'll stop sharing my screen there as well. It might make it easier to see it. Thank you.
Ryan. Thank you. Okay, so we'll get started. So Sarah is wondering, I know we spoke about this, but we can just clarify it once more. So do they get an accredited grade and do a written exam, and they get the best grade out of the two?
They will get the best grade out of the two. So on their results sheet, whatever grade they have gotten on the results sheet in August, whatever that result is, it's the best out of the two of them. So it mightn't indicate which one it came from. It won't indicate it. It'll just give you the grade for English, Irish, maths and everything else. And it'll give you the best grade that they got out of the two options.
Okay, Kieran is saying, is there any way for the school to stagger the time classes finish at the end of the day so the whole school is not leaving the premises at the same time?
Yeah, so we have that in operation now. We're not doing it at the moment because we've only 6 years in, but before December, our normal operation would be that at lunchtime, for the last 5 minutes, all junior students would leave by their closest exit. So we've opened up all the fire exits and everything in the school, so there's a load of different ways of exiting the school at that time. We've created a new path out of our fire exits as well, so that they can get safely out to the gate. So the junior students leave 5 minutes early, and they're spread across all the different exits so that not everybody's coming out the one door. Then in the afternoon, our senior students leave 5 minutes early before the junior students do. And so again, they leave out of all those different exits. So there's about maybe 20-30 kids going out each exit, and it has been working really well. So once we have the 5th years back next week, we'll look at trying to maybe do the 5th years a few minutes early, or the 6th years a few minutes early, and stagger that over the few weeks. And then once we're all back, we will be back to the junior students at lunchtime and the senior students at the end of the day leaving early.
Thank you. Linda is wondering, how does a new teacher communicate with an old teacher if they are no longer at HCS?
We arrange all of that. So I'm in contact with teachers, that anybody that's been out on maternity leave or anybody that has retired, it was the exact same last year. Last year's Leaving Certs had the same situation where we needed guidance from the previous teacher that they had maybe in 5th year. So we arrange all of that communication. So don't be concerned about that. Yeah, I'm in contact with those teachers anyway as it is. So the teachers that have replaced them this year, that'll all be sorted out by us, so don't worry about that.
Anne Ryan is wondering, will students receive feedback on the class tests before the 14th of May?
So those in-class assignments will be used as part of their accredited process for the accredited grade system, that alignment process. So they may receive some feedback, but they won't receive a grade in it. And because that will be used to form the alignment or the accredited grade, but also the alignment process that the student will have to go through, that the teacher will have to go through within the subject department during the alignment week, which is after the 14th of May. So they might receive feedback, but they won't receive the grade.
Sarah is wondering, if a student and particular teacher don't get along and you feel the teacher may have given harsh marks on previous tests because of this, will other teachers in that subject group review previous tests as part of the standardisation process, or is the required evidence simply the previous test results?
No, guidance issued to teachers is that whether there is absolutely no discrimination against whether you get along with the child or not, in any way, shape or form. And that was the exact same advice that was given last year. There's no teacher that would discriminate against a child if they get that. It's normal to some get along and some don't, and that is a normal human behaviour that is in every single school, but that does not form in any way, shape or form any sort of an opinion of a teacher when they're given an accredited grade. They look over the evidence that is available by the student, that is brought to an alignment meeting within the subject department. So a number of teachers discuss that, and then the grades are aligned then. What else is in that question? The standardisation process as well is to the state exams, so it's not the school. So the teacher gives the estimated mark, then it is aligned within the subject group. Like for example, we've about 10 maths teachers, we've about 12, 15 Irish teachers. So within that group, they're aligned within that group. And then we send it to the state exams and they do the final grading. That's where the standardisation happens.
Colette is wondering, can we please send the copies of the PowerPoints, because there was a lot of information to take in?
Yeah, it's a huge amount of information. Yeah, it's a huge amount, but it's all the facts. We've stuck to the facts with it to try and keep it as condensed as possible. It's a lot of information. We'll make it available to you, no problem. We'll stick it up onto the website and we'll send it out to you as a link as well.
And Linda's wondering, do the students need an exam number for next week? I'm assuming that's for the student portal.
For the student portal, so exam numbers usually come in a couple of days. Well, last year they came in a couple of days beforehand, so I'm sure we'll either see them in the next day or two. They'll have to have their exam numbers before that, so I'm sure we'll receive them in the next day or two.
Sarah said, thanks for that information. Caroline Losty, hi. Will the subject teachers be advising the students whether to sit the exam? So to sit the Leaving Cert or take the accredited grade?
They won't be telling a student directly, you should sit an exam or you should take an accredited grade. They won't be that direct about it. I would strongly suggest a student going to a guidance counsellor and asking them first, as their teacher will be very conscious of canvassing and very conscious of being biased towards one thing or another. So now I am happy to stand over and fully suggest every single student chooses an accredited grade, because it's the only fallback you get if anything happens. So make sure you choose that. But the teachers won't get into the conversation about whether to do this, that or the other. It's the student's choice. So discuss it with your child on how they've been doing with their written exams, how do they feel about their written exams, and if they're very concerned or they're really unsure, they need to talk to a guidance counsellor. And we'll be all there next Monday as well. We'll be going through all of that with them, so they will be getting a huge amount of support from that. The guidance counsellors were in first thing 9 o'clock into their classes on Monday morning with a survey on them to see where their kind of heads are at the moment. So they've been engaging with them a lot already. But if they're very concerned, please speak to the guidance counsellor. They're the best person to talk to about that.
Colette is wondering, can the students be helped with their CAO and other application forms? So just to answer that, Colette, the students have one class of guidance every week, so that's timetabled where the guidance counsellor is in there with them. So the deadlines are coming thick and fast in terms of PLC applications and CAO deadlines for here and there. And like Ms. Ryan said, the guidance counsellors have been in all the classes this week so far, and they've surveyed the students to see what is left, what do they have left to do, what help do they need, and they're meeting with students every half an hour on a one-to-one basis to help them through this process. So there's loads of support there for students at the moment. So if you feel like, you know, your child is worried or concerned about anything, just tell them to pop a message to the guidance counsellor if they haven't spoken to them already, and they can chat to them tomorrow. Orla is wondering, can they definitely choose between exams or accredited grades on a subject by subject basis?
Yes, they can. So they can choose to do, for an example, they can choose to do Irish, English, Maths as a written exam, and then accredited grades for the other exams. So you can choose whether, for each individual subject, you can choose whether one or the other or both, okay? What you can't do is choose to do the project and not do the written exam of that specific subject. You can't mix it within the subject, but by subject, per subject, you can choose Irish accredited grade, English written exam, Maths accredited grade, French written exam. You can totally do that, but you can't choose to do the formal oral and not do the written exam. So you have to go the whole way with the written exam if that's what you're doing.
Linda said, surely the students should opt for both accredited grade and sit the exams.
They can. What I'm advising with making sure you do the accredited grade, that's my minimum advice. That's the minimum that a student should be choosing to do. In other words, they should not be not opting for it. I can't tell a student whether to sit an exam or not, because I can't canvass them that way and they can't canvass me that way. And those conversations are it's a very tricky area between the student and the teacher. So it's the student that has to make that choice, I'm afraid. My advice to take the accredited, to make sure that you definitely do the minimum, is the accredited grade, is the minimum thing that you should be choosing to do. So that's what I mean by that choice. So you need to talk to your child about that yourselves. I can't say, make sure you do the written exam. That is up to the student.
Yeah. And I suppose, like we've been speaking to the students so far this week, we've been saying to them, you know, to look at this really positively. It's nearly like 2 bites of the cherry. You have double the chance now, you know, and your best grade will be taken. So if you sit the exam and you opt in, then they're choosing your best. So
yeah, as Miss Clint said there, you're getting 2 bites of the cherry here. It is the best opportunity students have ever had to do well in their exams and to get a good grade. So, you know, advise your children well on it. All the information is there now, and have the conversation with them. You know, I know it's a lot of information. With all our heads have been melted with it because it's all very new. But the information is there. It's as concise as we could have made it for you. And again, if you've any queries or questions, just contact us and we'll talk to you directly with it as well. But again, my minimum advice, the minimum thing they should do is to opt in for the accredited grade.
That seems to be all the questions at the moment on the chat. If anybody would like to add anything.
Has anyone raised their hand there or wants to speak in camera or anything like that? I'll just check through them.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be.
And I suppose another thing, the great thing about this is students will have this information, you know, discussed with them. There's so much support in the school, you know, between the teachers, the guidance counsellors, ourselves. So we want them to kind of make informed decisions, ask all the questions. The Monday coming, that will be a lovely opportunity for them to have those conversations, to input all that information onto the student portal. So we want to make sure that your child feels very much supported over the coming weeks. And yeah, so it's just about making those right decisions. Deirdre has just said there, sorry, on the chat, hi, I know everyone is very busy at this time, but will after school study resume?
It will, yeah. Mr. Fleming will be looking at that, and yeah, it will definitely be resuming as soon as possible. Hoping to start it back next week. We're giving kids time to kind of settle in first, but hoping to start back next week. Once it's back open and we're ready to go with it, and we've people sorted for it, it'll be back. Yeah, that's the next step for 6 years, is to open that back up. So if you have any other questions, even in relation to the reopening or anything like that. So we're looking forward to, we're delighted that 6 years are back. We're looking forward to seeing all the other kids back as well now. Okay. No problem.
Linda Davies has just added something. Can an 18-year-old leave school by themselves if they are sick?
They can leave, yeah, they're entitled to leave the school by themselves, but they would still have to sign out of the office for health and safety reasons. They'd still have to sign out, and they still have to let somebody know, so they can't just leave the building. And that's for health and safety reasons, if there was a fire or fire drill or anything like that. And also if it's a COVID symptom, they need to inform us as well.
Lots of thank you coming in. Linda said, great, thanks. It saves me having to collect Aaron if he is sick.
Yeah, if Aaron's not feeling well, he just has to notify the office, notify his teacher that he's leaving. We need to know who's in the building and who's not, in case there was any health and safety issue.
Susie is wondering, will they have a graduation ceremony?
Well, we're meeting the staff graduation committee are meeting on Friday morning. So we're talking about it already and getting something in place. There obviously won't be a sit-in big face-to-face ceremony like that. That won't go ahead, I'm afraid. But we are definitely arranging something.
And Orla is just wondering, when do exam fees have to be paid?
So the exam fees have been waived this year. It was the same as last year. So there isn't any exam fees.
Linda's wondering, any sign of the junior cert certificates of achievement from last year?
Yeah, we discussed this in the first parents' evening tonight. So the state exams last year said that the department said that they would issue a certificate of completion for the junior certs last year, but that hasn't come through yet. So we're still waiting on that from the department. If it doesn't come through, as I know they are prioritising their 6 years at the moment, if it doesn't come through, we'll do something as a school ourselves. We'll have a certificate for ourselves, because they did do the work, they did great work, and they achieved their first big milestone of a secondary school. The junior cert informs such a big part of their 5th year, and whether they do TY and what classes or subjects and levels they go into. So if the department don't issue that certificate of completion, we'll do something ourselves.
Linda just added there to that it seems that other schools received certs, so maybe they were the school certs maybe given.
It's a school cert, yeah. No school has received the certificate of completion unless a school made it up themselves. But I would hope that the department kind of keeps their word and issue that completion certificate. They should, and I hope they do that. But if they don't, we'll issue it ourselves. So those are the schools, they probably issued their own certs.
And so thanks for all the information.
No problem. Okay, how is that for everybody then? Are we all doing okay? Wrecked, tired after that? Time for a cup of tea? No problem. I really hope that helps with the conversations with your children over the next few days. As we said at the start, we're so delighted to see our 6 years back. It feels just the interactions and the smiles on their faces, and they were all dolled up coming back into school Monday morning, and it was just great. They were excited coming back, and we were excited to see them. So thank you very much for engaging with us tonight. These Zoom information evenings have been really, really good. It's been a great way to chat to you, and it's been lovely to chat to you, to be honest. And we miss these evenings ourselves, because this is the only time really parents don't get an awful lot of times in the school to chat, especially to us with senior management and to teachers as well. So thank you so much for coming with us tonight, and thanks for the brilliant questions that were asked as well, because that opens up the conversation, and that, there's plenty of people that have the same question as you, so it gets the information even more specific for you. So thank you very much for those questions. We really, really appreciate it.